The concerns that I have about this shift are not that it can't be done, but that we haven't done as a state an appropriate analysis to understand, one, what are the goals that we're trying to achieve? Are we trying to get better quality? Are we trying to get lower cost? Are we trying to get greater access? That's not been really clearly defined. Are we trying to get a better environment for medical education? Those things haven't been clearly defined, and therefore not studied appropriately to see, how are we going to achieve those goals. People will tend to talk about quality of healthcare in Louisiana, and will say things like Louisiana has the highest cost and the lowest quality of healthcare. That's true in the Medicare program. We're at the very high end of cost per recipient, and we're at the low end of quality per recipient in the Medicare program of the state. Well, that care is generally not delivered in the public safety net system. That's delivered in the private delivery system in the state, which is the system that the administration is currently proposing moving the care into. What's stated as the precipitator is the change in the federal matching rate in the Medicaid program. The assumption was the state didn't have anywhere to go except the LSU hospital system. The truth of the matter is the LSU hospital system makes up about 12 to 13% of the overall Medicaid program, and got about 67% of the impact of those FMAP changes. Changes to the LSU system were not the only places to go to deal with that change in the federal matching rate. There certainly are other options than to put the entire or the lion's share of that impact on the LSU hospital system. What you're seeing is a policy decision by the administration. We were looking at how to deal with these cuts. The instructions that we had received from the administration, and I received from my board through the administration, was to make the maximum amount of cuts that we could do that did not close an emergency room, did not close a hospital, and went up to 34.5%, under the 35% threshold. Any one of those three things would require legislative authority. The primary driver of these is to pull in some private funds to use as match in the Medicaid program to supplant state dollars. And so what you'll see, if you read the MOUs, they describe these milestone payments, upfront payments from the private providers that will then be used as match in the Medicaid program to draw down federal funds as a way of offsetting the budget shortfall this year. People need to pay attention to the fact that these payments are lump sum lease payments for future activity, and so in the case of the New Orleans hospital, one of the payments, a $13 million payment, is for the lease of the new facility, which won't open until 2016 or so. So we're using those future year lease payments for current year match to fix a budget problem this year in the program. So we're changing the rules for the people that signed up for the game today. And that does prove to be unsettling for recruiting as well. We won't know until March, when students sign up for the match, to figure out where they want to do their postgraduate training, the residency training, how that's impacting the programs in the state. But I do know that that is a very hot topic of discussion among the medical students right now, and that is trying to figure out what the impact of this is going to be on the residency training. You're going to see some interesting questions come up with these partnerships, and as LSU changes ownership of hospitals to private providers, what happens to those residency slots? Do those get shifted over to the private providers as well? I would contend that those are valuable state assets, those CMS Medicare funded residency training slots. Those CMS training slots, that's like currency in graduate medical education. You don't have to have them to do training, but you have to have them to get paid by CMS for your Medicare related business. In general, what my board wanted, I think, for me, was to more enthusiastically embrace these changes to the hospitals. And so when I would go testify in the midst of this, when the match rate was being cut and it was being put on LSU, what I was being encouraged to do is describe that as a positive, an opportunity for LSU to modernize or transform ourselves, and I couldn't do that because we're a pretty modern operation today. Mm-hmm. I kept trying to make our system work in the setting of recurring cuts, and it became clear that the goal was not to make it work in the setting of continued cuts, but to have continued cuts to force transition to something else.